Alright, so
I burped.
nice.
Don't put that in.
I'm definitely putting that in.
Don't, please
I
don't.
will put that in. Hey everybody, this is Taylor and Anabella with Brain and Heart, and today we are reviewing
A Deal with the Elf King. How
I
did
didn't
you
read
forget?
it. Don't look at me like that. I'm not the one who read it.
Today we're doing A Deal with the Elf King. Before we even start reviewing this book, or before I start telling you all about this book, because Ani has not read it, the cover is absolutely stunning.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this on Goodreads. It was recommended by the Sarah J. Maas, I believe.
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, so I was like, oh, I gotta read it. The cover is absolutely beautiful. It's very Hades and Persephone styled cover, which I love. So this book I was very excited to read. It had fairly good reviews, and I said, you know what, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to buy it. It was like $18 for a book, and I bought it. And it's paperback. It's paperback.
Yeah.
First things first, this book is a kind of Beauty and the Beast, Hades and Persephone retelling of sorts. The main characters, we have Aldous and Luella are the main characters.
Mm-hmm.
The genre would be like a fantasy romance.
And not modern.
No, it takes place
more...
in older times.
Okay.
Yeah. And it is 338 pages. So the thing about this book, though, is that even though it's it looks big, like if you were to hold it up, it looks like it's like a fairly good-sized book. The font is pretty big and the pages are thick. So it goes by very, very quickly. I read this in about 3 days.
Yeah, it wasn't long.
Yeah, it wasn't long, but at times it felt long.
Age rating. So what would you...
There is some mature content in this book. Not explicit.
But it is sexual content.
It's sexual content. Okay. So I would say age range, probably like 16 up.
I think, 16
yeah,
up.
16 up, yeah.
How violent, if anything?
They mention a few violent things, but it's nothing bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So minor violence stuff.
Minor violence, yeah. On Goodreads, this book is rated 3.76 stars. I would personally rate this 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite book in the world, but I thought it was cute. It was like a cute story. I'm glad I read it, but it wasn't the kind of book that I would say everyone needs to read this book right now. I have very little books like that. Mm-hmm. This isn't one of them.
Fair.
I thought that it was good, though. It was the kind of book that I would read like on vacation or like on a trip or just for fun. Like nothing that I would like, I desperately needed to read to see how it ended.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Tell me the plot, Taylor.
This is the plot. Okay, so we have... I forgot the name of the village she lives in. Luella. She is like the town healer. Okay. So she makes all these little potions and concoctions for all these people. And her land is not thriving right now because every 100 years, a woman with powers is chosen from her village and has to marry the Elf King. And that supplies like the spring and summer. Like it like heals the world by their marriage. But it's been 101 years.
I don't mean to stop you.
Yeah.
It's just the marriage?
No, because she's got powers. They have to get married, though. For what... It doesn't really explain why.
Yes, a human concept is what makes the land thrive. I understand now.
So...
No!
So, they have to get married, and the human queen's powers kind of make the world thrive. So she has to, like, sit in the throne, and her power, like, grants the world, like, the girth it needs. You know what I mean?
Girth
do you know
it
what
needs.
I mean?
Now I do.
That strong energy. So it's been 101 years and no one has been chosen. There's no queen. So everyone's like, crap, our land is going to poo. It's not good. It's not good.
I wish we could show you him.
I know.
He's dead on the floor. There's a corpse.
So, no one's been chosen, right? Mm-hmm. So Luella, she is the healer. She works in a shop, and her village paid for her to go to school. So she feels like she owes her townspeople for paying for her education. So her work is totally for free, and she's always busy. Enter Luke, the love interest. Within like it's like the second page, and her love interest is an introduced love interest, not really.
If they're introduced first,
it's second page.
So if they're introduced first and they're already interested in each other, it never works out.
So so he comes in and he's like, oh, Luella, we should run away together. I'm in love with you. And she's like, what? And then they kiss. And she's so excited for them to kiss because she's liked him for so long. But then they kiss and she's like, I felt nothing. That literally was empty inside. And I'm like,
ooh,
saw
no
that
fireworks.
Coming. No fireworks. No. So then he is like, let's run away together. And then he tells her parents that they're engaged. He's like, by the way, her and I are getting married. And she's like, I don't remember saying that ever to you, that I would marry you, but go off, King. He wants to run away. She doesn't want to. That day, the Elf King shows up, and he's like, "Give me a queen. I've been waiting. It's over a year." His name is Eldest, by the way. King Eldest.
He's the eldest son.
He is the eldest son, actually. He shows up and he's like, "Where's my queen?" And everyone's like, "Oh, I don't know. And then this one girl, like, passes out or something, and Luella's like, "I'll save you." So she goes up to this girl and she heals her, and Eldest is seeing that she's healing the girl, and he's like, "You're my new human queen." And she's like, What? So she's the human queen. Eldest is like, "Well, you're my queen now. You have to come with me." And she's like, I. So she goes with him, and she learns all about being human queen. But keep in mind that she's actually, it's like a year later, or like 2 years later than she should have been human queen. So she's like kind of missing out on all the information she needs. Eldest is kind of an asshole, like douche.
Okay.
To her. So this is an enemies to lovers story. And, you know,
that's another one. Two in a row.
Another 2 in a row.
Okay, so things you liked.
Things I liked. I love the fact that it was enemies to lovers. It was a Hades and Persephone kind of story. When he brought her to his kingdom, they like fought all the time, and, you know, it slowly grew into something more, which we all suspected. And it was nice because it was like an arranged marriage thing. So it was like kind of like the fanfic trope, like, there's only one bed.
Yeah. Okay.
It was really interesting in that way. You know, enemies to lovers. We know it, we love it. We stand. That was good.
Quality content right there.
I loved Luella's character in the fact that she was entirely dedicated to her people. Throughout the whole book, it was first person. Her inner monologue, or her inner like dialogue, was always like, "Oh, I need to get home to my people. My people need me. I hope that they're all okay." Which that was really admirable of her. I really liked the idea of Luke, that boy, hiding her as the human queen.
That was interesting. When you told me about that originally, I was like, "Oh, that's so interesting. That makes sense. At least there's an explanation."
Yes.
There's no plot holes when it comes to that.
Yes.
Thank God.
So it was a really cool idea that she had, because I didn't expect it. I knew that Luke wasn't going to be the one.
Yeah, I mean, that's always... You never, like, introduce a love interest that your character's already attracted to and have them end up with that person.
Yeah, especially the second page.
Exactly. That's like a waste of a romance.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. I haven't read this book, but I'm going to tell you some things about what I've heard. From what we've talked about so far is that Luella's a very caring character. Well, she's not one of those... She's not a typical heroine in the way that she stands up and is like, "I will fight off the bad guy with my sword skills that I don't have but will develop over the next 2 pages." She's very much like, "I'm just gonna... Can you just stop doing your bad thing?" And then Eldest, from what I've heard, is that a lot of people think he's boring. He doesn't seem to have a lot of character. Yeah, anyways, like, Taylor's super smelly and... Oh, God.
Okay, where did we leave off? That's hot.
We were talking about how Luella cares for her people, I believe.
Yeah. I thought that was really admirable of her. She was a really great character in the way that she had a ton of things that I loved. She was very dedicated to her people. She was feisty when she needed to be. She had a lot of great qualities, but this also was a problem that I will talk about later. Like the fact that she was almost too perfect. It was a little irritating. Oh. She's the kind of character that a lot of girls could relate to, because she's got like the key, she's like very sweet, but she's also got that spunky side, and she's like not afraid to defy Eldest, and there was a lot of things that I really admired about that. I literally have written down as my next thing that I like, Eldest is sexy. I can't stand when I read a love story and the main guy I'm like not attracted to, Christopher. But I did not have this problem with this book. From the moment he entered, I was like, yep.
Good, because looking through the Goodreads comments, which I glanced through, people were like, "He's boring."
He is.
Oh, okay.
But he's sexy. You know what I mean?
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Because it's like reverse the leg lamp trope.
The what?
The thing where like in movies or books or whatever, it's like if you can replace the only female character with a leg lamp and it won't change the plot or influence anything at all, there you go.
Yeah.
Like the sexy fishnet tights. Yeah.
Yeah. He's super attractive. I love the dynamic between like he's like the king of like death. Like he's got like he wears all black, and like Luella's got this beautiful red fiery hair.
Oh, so she didn't even try to make it different.
No, she's his opposite. Literally his opposite.
And literally Hades and Persephone.
Yeah, exactly. The first line of the book shook me to my core.
Oh yeah, I remember you
reading that. It's a beautiful line. Oh yeah, it also includes like a map. That's what the world is supposed to look like. Okay, this is the first line. There are only two reasons why the elves come to our world: war or wives. In either case, they come for death. They came today. So.
Oh, I thought you were done. Sorry.
Yeah. Other than that, the world building was really cool. She gave a lot of information that I felt could have been cut down a little bit, but at the same time, it was interesting.
Yeah, because this is a standalone, technically speaking.
It is a standalone.
Okay.
It's going to be a series, but in the way that it's like a bunch of standalones put together in a series. It's called Married to Magic.
Yeah, does it connect each book in the same world?
Oh, yes, I believe so. The book doesn't come out. The Dance of the Fae Rogue. I think that's the next one.
Year, right?
End of this
2021.
year. 2021. Yeah, end of this year. I liked that it was a cute story. The ending kind of wrapped it up in a ribbon. It felt very neat and put together. There were a lot of things that I wish that was done, and I felt like the romance as a whole was good. I was rooting for them, but it felt very rushed.
And that's fair because the book is quite short.
It is, but I felt like it could have dealt more with the hating part of the love-hate relationship and then gone to love at the end. But it felt like it was like a moment of hate, then the rest was love, which was a little irritating because I love pining, and it wasn't
pining
a lot of
is
that.
Quality.
So it seemed like they hated each other. They had a big fight in the beginning, which I really, really liked because you don't see that a lot. They had a big fight, and I loved that. And then they had like a dinner together, and they got drunk, and they kissed. And after that, she had nothing but like romantic thoughts for him. And she wanted to kiss him again.
The only way that would make sense is if she was younger.
Explain.
In the way that it's girlhood, crushing.
Well,
and that's all that it takes.
She has only had one kiss, and it was with Luke.
Yeah. So I'm saying, it would make more sense if she was younger. And she's got, a crush on him, even despite the fact that they're married. But, she got a crush on him, and then she was like, oh, yeah, what's going on? She had, that childhood love for him instead of adult.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I feel like that would have been more believable.
Yeah, it was just after the kiss, I was like, oh, that's really cool, but then I wanted them to have another fight, and then they didn't really until the end. But then it had to do with them being in love with each other. It was a whole thing.
Okay.
Anyway, things I didn't like. I feel like there was just a lot of lost potential in this story. There was a lot of things that could have been done to make the story more have more depth. An example of this would be if the relationship was drawn out a little bit more in the them hating each other aspect. I felt like that could have been better.
Hello, everybody. We're back to it just being me. Today, on ASMR Book YouTube. Yep. We are talking about Deal with the Elf King. Something that I have not read. Let me read you the back, because I have nothing else to do. 3,000 years ago, humans were hunted by powerful races with wild magic until the treaty was formed. Now, for centuries, the elves have taken a young woman from Luella's village to be their human queen. To be chosen is seen as a mark of death by the townsfolk. A mark 19-year-old Luella is grateful to have escaped as a girl. Instead, she's dedicated her life to studying herbology and becoming the town's only healer. That is, until the Elf King unexpectedly arrives. For her. Unexpected. Everything Luella had thought she'd known about her life, and herself, was a lie. Yeah, so I was just stalling.
There was a lot of characters that either we didn't learn much about that were super interesting, or characters that I thought would be the villain and weren't the villain.
Fair.
So, for example, there's this character named Arya. That's what I called you earlier. And she is friends with Aldous' little brother. And she kind of is a little sketchy. So, the Fae and the elves don't really like each other. She's half Fae, half elf. She's a little sketchy, and at one point Luella gets kidnapped, and she sees Arya whispering to a Fae, and then the Fae end up kidnapping her in that scene. So she's Arya's really, really sketchy. She tells Aldous yo, I think we got to keep an eye on her. I think she's gonna try to do something bad and betray us. Aldous is I'll look into it. Don't worry about it. Well, the whole book, it's Luella being I still think it's Arya. I still think she's a little sketchy. Something's not right. And then at the end of the book, Arya is sketchy, and she ends up being the villain, and she betrays them. Luella thought that Arya was the villain, and then she was. And it was so disappointing. It was so disappointing. Fair. So how it works is that the Elf King usually will marry the human queen, but then he will take on a lover to produce his heirs. So the human queen and the Elf King usually don't, like, have babies together.
That even, I don't mean to interrupt, but that brings more questions as to why is their magic based off a human concept, which is not even a thing that has anything to do with creation. Like, if it was going to be sexual content, I would assume that them having intercourse would lead to their magic being better. So I'm shocked to hear that that's not expected, and that it just goes off of marriage, which is a legal concept that was made to have people have rights to other people's property.
Pretty much.
What does that?
So yeah, they're not supposed to like be together in that way. So Aldous' mother was not the former human queen.
She was the lover.
Okay. So and her name was Savenna.
Okay.
Right. So Savenna is like she's like really mean to Luella, and she's got a thing with the human queens because obviously she was jealous that like her lover was married to somebody else who was the human queen.
Okay.
Savenna was like really sketchy towards Luella, and the whole time I was like, oh, I bet it's not Arya's not really the one who betrays them. I bet it's like the mother or like somebody else that you don't accept, or the brother. But he actually had like a little bit of a redemption arc, which was nice.
As short as that, there was a redemption arc.
Kind of like he was kind of like an asshole in the beginning, and then towards the end he was like, we're good. You know.
Oh, so he was just a jerk for no reason.
Kinda. He was like struggling with like Glimmer, which was like
this drug, right.
And he was like going out all the time. And Arya was a bad influence. Anyway, but yeah, I didn't expect Arya to be the villain because it was so prominent that like, oh, Arya's probably the villain, and I was like, oh, there's no way that's going to be the case because Luella keeps saying
talking about it,
and it wasn't her.
And obviously because of the way that like it's set up, you immediately think like, oh, it's going to be somebody else. But it ends up being her anyway, so you didn't expect it, but also that's boring.
Yeah, it was super boring. Also, the former human queen, Alice, she had like a relationship with Aldous growing up, because not like a romantic one.
Scared the shit out of me.
Aldous was like a little boy.
Yeah, I was going to say, he was a child, that's weird.
But he always talked about her like it was like a secret. Like whenever Luella would bring it up, he would be like, oh, like I don't want to talk about it, whatever. So I was like, there's got to be something else in that relationship.
It was explained.
It wasn't. They never explained it.
Why?
I don't know.
Did she forget?
I don't know. He was just like, oh yeah, she was really close. Like she was closer to me than my mom was, I guess. Like that's all he really said. But there was like, I was expecting more. I felt like it was lackluster in that way.
I feel like when books are made this short with a plot that is deep and intense, the book needs to be longer for everything to be answered.
Yeah.
And if this is a standalone book, which it seems to be like it is, seems like the rest of the series is going to be about different characters in different places, explain the rest of it.
Yeah.
Give your readers answers.
It was just, I was like left feeling like, oh, I wish she explained that more. I feel like there was missed potential with that. Lastly, the ending was like a tad confusing. So the whole thing was like Aldous and Luella made this like deal with each other where she's like, if I can figure out how to break this cycle of like the human queen marrying the elf king, because her role is that she has to sit on this throne, and every time she sits on it, it like sucks the magic out of her, like life like steals the magic out of her.
And does that take with her life force with her?
I think so.
And that's why so okay.
She dies like 100 years. Like she like lives for 100 years, and then right after she dies, the elf king dies like right after that. Then his heir takes over. She's like, I hate this throne. I don't really want to stay here. And the whole time she's like, I want to get back to my people. Like, they can't survive without me, girlfriend. They can survive without you. They can find somebody else. And they do. At the end of the book, they find somebody else.
Look at that answer. Problem solved.
She's going to want to come back because she loves him, even though she wouldn't admit it until the end of it. Luella makes a deal with Aldous, and she's like, before the coronation, before I become your queen, officially, because, I mean, they're married, but, like, the coronation is when she really becomes queen. She's like, if I can figure out how to break the cycle, you have to let me go home. And he's like, all right, word. Like, sure, whatever.
Word.
So they make the deal, and then in the process, they fall in love, but they won't admit it to each other, and they sleep together. She breaks the curse, and then he's mad at her. And, like, she goes home, and she is expecting to be like, oh, home sweet home. But she feels empty inside, and she's like, oh, crap, I love him, and I want to be back in the other world. But then the way that she breaks the curse was, like, super weird. It was like she took, like, a heart root from, like, a plant and, like, buried it in the ground. It was, like, it was very confusing.
Was that, like, a symbolic / real replacement for her magic kind of thing?
I think so, because she said that she figured it out because the first queen, like all the queens kept diaries and she was reading them to try to figure it out.
Cool. That's actually interesting.
Yeah, and then she said like the first queen had like a statue made in the town square that like gave a hint towards like how to break the curse, and she had like this like light bulb moment where she's like, oh my god, that's how to do it. So I had to read it twice because I was like, I don't really understand what she's saying here. Anyway, but she ended up planning like this necklace that contained heartroot or something that belonged to the first queen in the ground. So like there was like a loophole from the first queen to break the cycle. And I'm like, then why wouldn't the
first queen just do that?
That's literally because she literally made it to break the cycle, and then she like left clues and like hit it.
Maybe she was dying or something. She couldn't do it or whatever.
Maybe, but
she was.
But then there was so many other queens before then.
My question would be, if she's going to include information like that, include also why it's Luella that does it, why no one other queen has figured it out until now.
Well, other queens have been trying to figure it out, but it
didn't seem that hard to figure out.
It was like a weird thing. I don't know. It was very confusing though. And anyway, but after she got it, she like went back to Aldous and she's like, "I love you," and then he immediately forgives her for the big fight that they had because he goes, "Do you love me?" And she's like, and he's like, "Well, the fact that you're not answering is enough." And then they have a fight, and then she goes home after she breaks the curse. And then she comes back, and she's like, "I love you." Oh, jeez. And she's like, "I love you, Aldous." And then he's like, "Dope." And then
he goes,
"Dope." And then she gets like, she becomes queen, and then they live happily ever after.
Like, that's like cheating out of plot and a good ending.
It was like it was a little boring. The ending was like tied up with a ribbon, but there was nothing.
It's like a fairy tale ending.
Wow, it was. And I get it was a standalone. I appreciate that they had a happy ending. Mm-hmm. It was a little boring.
It could have been done better, I feel like.
It could have. Oh, on the topic of Luella, things I didn't like about her character, because I was going to come back to that, she had no flaws.
You mentioned that.
It was very irritating. She was perfect. Like, she had a little bit of spunk, but anyone would, because Aldous treated her like shit in the beginning. Yeah. But she was 19. She's thrown into this world, and she's like, oh, by the way, you have insane powers that are going to harvest the entire world, and they're going to, like, suck you dry and, like, almost kill you every single time you sit on the throne. Also, you have to get married to a man who you basically hate, and you can't see your family. Like, you can see them, like, once a year.
And your life is completely upturned, and you're stuck in this world, and you can't go back.
Also, all of your people are probably going to die without you in the village, so have fun. She has no reaction. Like, she's upset, but she doesn't have any, like, if it were me, I would like have like a blowout and like yell at people and be like crying all the time. She's like, oh, it's my duty to my people, and like I understand that, but she's 19. Like, you know, we're 19. Yeah. Like, if we were thrown in that situation, but you know what I did like? His little assistant, his little like rogue that like is also Luella's bodyguard.
Or something. The name.
Oh,
like Rennie or something.
Rennie.
I was right.
They had a thing. The Elf King and Rennie. They were canoodling.
Is it a guy or a girl?
A girl.
Oh, okay.
That would be cool.
I thought it was a man.
Anyway, that was a little cool twist.
Interesting, yeah.
But and also Rennie was a painter, and she had like dreams of being a painter. Luella was always like, follow your dreams. Like, you should do what you want. You know, be who you want. And then I was thinking like, oh, at the end, Rennie, I bet she's going to become like a painter. Aldous is going to relieve her of her position because she only became a guard because her dad was. And I thought he was going to relieve her of her position and she could become a painter like she always wanted to be. She didn't. There was just like little holes that I was left being like, I want more. And I got to the end of the rope and I was like, that's disappointing.
It seems rushed. Everything you're telling me just feels rushed. Like, she needed to get the ending out and she forgot about all these things that she had written about and then just sort of left it.
Okay, but overall, I enjoyed the book. I thought, you know, there was definitely a few things I would have changed, but I'm glad that I read it. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't suggest you read it. I don't think you would like it.
I don't want to.
I don't think you would like it that much. Yeah, I would suggest it to other people. If you're the kind of person who likes Hades and Persephone stories, then yeah, definitely give it a read. It's very short. I know it looks thick, but again, the pages are very thick. But yeah, give it a read if you're bored one day, you know. I read it in 3 days.
These are thick pages.
They are super thick pages.
Why?
I feel like if they weren't, the book would be half its size.
Oh my god, yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it was a sweet read, and Aldous is like, I could dig a brooding elf man, and he's a king.
Makes sense.
Enemies to lovers.
That's fine.
I dug it. You know, It was cool. So yeah, it's that.
Thank you guys so much for watching.
Thank you.
If you liked this video, check out our other ones that are definitely going to be up by the time this one's uploaded.
Oh sure, yeah, definitely.
I definitely have time to edit and post videos during the semester.
Yeah.
But please subscribe, like the video, ring the bell if you're interested. We're not going to be posting too frequently, so the notifications shouldn't be that annoying.
It's a fun little thing. And if we have any people that are watching, comment below and let us know what kind of videos you want to see, because we're open to, we have a few ideas. going through. So
We do have a few ideas going through.
Yeah. So yeah.
Alright. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Bye, guys.
And we'll see you.